Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today. And though you've come through many obstacles.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to episode 2 of Kill la Kill. So with the first episode, I went into it coming back to this series after many years and giving it another chance, as I said, kind of under new pretenses, as a completely different person than I was back then. And we came into the series not knowing exactly what to expect and not knowing... I mean, I had some knowledge of the series and everything, but it's just, I didn't know how I was going to feel about it. And I walked away from the first episode. It's like, okay, not bad. There were genuinely some moments I enjoyed. There were some jokes that were really good. Where is this going to go from here? So we're going to find out. Hopefully I end up enjoying this much more than I don't, but we'll see. I believe I stated last time, this is a very popular anime. A lot of people really look at this fondly. And also, like I said, I have some issues with it. Like, even outside of just story or characters or comedy or anything, there's the sexualization of minors. And mind you, a lot of anime does this, but that doesn't make it right. And as I said last time, I'm going to just try to move past that. I'm going to try to ignore that aspect of things as much as I can and just focus on the story, the characters, the comedy, everything else. We'll see how well that works out. But yeah, this is just one of those anime that just could go either way for me at this point. So, without really much of anything else to say going into this, we're just going to get this started. Because the story's been pretty simple so far. Ryuko's looking for whoever killed her father. She's looking for the other half of the scissor blade, comes to the school, and starts challenging pretty much everybody there. That's pretty much the first episode in a nutshell. There's other details you could nail down, but it's super simple. So let's get into the second one and see what changes and where this goes from here. I believe I know what's going to happen in this episode, at least to some degree, but we'll see for sure. Either way, when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. Okay, so we go from boxing to tennis, and get to meet Mako's family and everything in this episode, while Satsuki has a very brief fight with Ryuko, and just shows interest. Recap done. Because the problem is, that's pretty much all this episode was, if you take out the over-sexualization of things. And I said I was going to try to ignore that and everything and just focus on the story and characters and everything, but so much of the story and everything revolves around the sexuality. Like, there's the stuff with Ryuko trying to find out about her father and everything, and but like everything that like these characters do, like all the stuff with the story, it had the sexualization is so ingrained in it. I don't really think you can ignore it. If you want to talk about the story, like if you want to talk about Ryuko and meeting Mako's family, all You have to acknowledge the fact that Ryoko's father was hunched over a teenage girl, lusting over her after changing her clothes and seeing her naked body and stuff. You have to acknowledge that the younger brother was also shown lusting over her. If you want to talk about one teacher, you have to acknowledge that he stripped Ryuko and then started stripping himself for some fucking reason. Who knows why. Just nudity and sexuality was like so ingrained into these characters and everything, and into the story and into everything that was happening in this episode, that it's ridiculous. Like, even during the tennis match, they made a very big point of having Ryuko hang upside down at one point, and as Mako said, flashing the crowd, and it's just like, why was that necessary? What was the point of this? And, like, let me look something up here real quick. Let me look something up, because I want to check on something to have, like, the specifics down and everything. Oh. Okay. So Ryuko is 17. As is Mako. In fact, most of the characters are going to probably be around the same age, so they're probably all right around 17. 17 is still a minor. Like, once you pass that threshold and reach 18, yeah, you're an adult. But 17 is still a minor, still technically a kid. This is still actively, very actively, sexualizing children. And it's just, and even if they're on the cusp of adulthood, it's still children. It's still fucking gross. And again, with as much as it's focused on here, I don't know if I can just ignore it. Because it's very clearly a major factor in this series. And yeah, I kind of knew that going into this again. I kind of knew that from the last time I tried watching that. But I was hoping that I was either misremembering or maybe my mind was exaggerating how heavy it was into that. But nope. Nope. And the fact is they didn't need to do, the creators of this and the writers did not need to do that. They could have very easily said that these characters are in a private college, basically. It could have been a private college, that kind of situation, instead of like a high school. Could have very easily been adults. And they wouldn't have even really had to change much of any of the designs. The only thing they might have had to change is like actually uniforms are important, so they could have still even had the uniforms. So really they wouldn't have had to change much. They would have just had to say that this is not a high school, it's further learning, and that these are adults. That is literally all they would have had to do. But no, instead, let's make these characters 17. Let's make them underaged, yet we're still going to fucking be disgusting and sexualize them. And again, I stated this in the last reaction, I know there's different cultures and everything. I know, like, in Japan, the culture surrounding that is different. But it's just a fucking weird thing for me. Again, I'm American. I was raised in America, and I have, to put it simply, Western sensibilities when it comes to adulthood and sexuality and stuff. And while I acknowledge that a lot of Western culture is honestly very prude when it comes to sexuality, there's some things that I do agree with, and that is you don't sexualize children. And again, even with them being on the cusp of adulthood, it still counts. They're still fucking children. And I feel like the episode itself, like everything outside of that, like there's the tennis match and everything, I feel like this episode didn't do much. Maybe it's just because, it's the second episode and everything. It's like it will start to develop things a little better. But all this episode really did to develop anything was introduce Mako's family. The tennis match, it was just another fight. Satsuki, her getting interested in Ryuko, like that wasn't really a big deal. It wasn't really any big step for her character or for the story. Like, it was just like, oh, I'm slightly interested in you now. Okay? Whoop-de-doo. The only thing that you could say in this that was actually, like, kind of important was meeting the teacher, because he's clearly going to be much more important. But that really... Until we find out what that leads to, until we see the payoff to that setup, you can't even say how big of a deal that was. I think it's pretty clear I liked this episode less than the first one by a pretty wide margin. And part of it is just because this episode didn't do much. And part of it is, admittedly, because of the sexuality being so important to this that it just... It distracted me, to put it simply. It was a distraction from the rest of the events happening and was just hurting the overall quality of everything around it, considering how integrated in it was. I'm not sure what I'm gonna think of this. I'm making that very clear right now. And this was made very clear when I first announced this. When I first announced this for the poll, I made it very clear that this might not be the show for me. That I had dropped it in the past because of a lot of reasons, and it still seems to be holding up to that, unfortunately. But I'm still gonna give it. I'm still gonna give it a chance. We're still gonna keep trying, and hopefully it starts to improve. But I don't know. I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. But yeah, I guess you could say I was very disappointed by this one, and I'm starting to lose hope in this series. I'm starting to lose hope that this will be something for me. And again, we're going to continue it for now, but I want to make clear that if and when we do drop this, we will be going right back to Tiger and Bunny. I want to make that clear. We're just taking a break from it for the time being. That will be what we would be going back to at this point. So, we'll continue to give this a chance. Hopefully it proves me wrong, but I don't know. It's bothering me a lot right now. We'll see, though. Tell me in the comments below what you thought of this episode of Kill la Kill, and thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.